We're talking about the 6 steps to answered prayer. And what the Lord gave me is this insight into the Lord's Prayer, the prayer that we all learn in catechism, Sunday school. Most of us can quote it by memory, but many of us don't realize that in the Lord's Prayer are the secrets to answered prayer. We've talked about 3 of those secrets so far. Today, we're going to look at verse 11. And here in verse 11, Jesus said, "Give us today our daily bread." We cannot be shy in asking for what we need. Jesus tells us in the Lord's Prayer, you need bread? Ask for bread. But what kind of bread do you want? You want Rainbow bread? Albertson's bread? Baird's bread? Wonder bread? How about some cake with some ice cream icing on it? I mean, what kind of bread do you ask for it? So what we need to do is learn to be specific in the things we ask. One time, a blind man came to the Lord, and he said, "Lord, have mercy on me." Now, mercy, it's a generic term. There's many different ways God could give mercy to this blind man. He can give him extra money. He can help him find friends. He can do many things. But what did the Lord say to him? "What do you want me to do for you?" Isn't it obvious, Lord, that he wants his sight? No. You may think it's obvious what you need in life, but I'm here to tell you, you have to ask. You have not because you ask not. James 4, verse 2. And that's our problem. We don't get bold enough to ask. And in the Lord's Prayer, he's telling us, be bold. Be courageous. Don't hesitate to tell the Lord what you need. Now, in the 1950s, Dr. Cho started a full gospel church in the country of South Korea, in the city of Seoul. At that time, the church was just a new church. It was a fledgling church, but it was growing rapidly. Now, of course, Dr. Cho is the pastor of the world's largest single congregation. But at that time, the country of South Korea was very poor. There were no Hyundais. There were no Kias. It was a very dirt poor country. And people, in order to get from one place to another, they walked. And if you've ever been to Seoul, and I have been to Seoul a few times, it is huge. And I can imagine walking from house to house. Well, Dr. Cho, his church started to grow. And he was having to do a lot of walking from house to house to go visit his parishioners. And finally he realized he can't just keep doing this. Now, with very few cars, he didn't have faith to ask for a car, but he knew that God could give him a bicycle. So he asked God for a bike. Well, months went by, and he still had no bike. He's still wearing out his shoes, going from house to house. And he asked the Lord about it. He said, "Lord, I don't understand. Why haven't you given me a bike? You know I need one. I'm a pastor, and it will make it faster if I went and drove in a bike from house to house. Why is it taking so long?" This is what he asked God. "Why is it taking so long?" And the Lord said, "Well, the problem is you never asked me what kind of bike you wanted." He said, "What do you mean?" He says, "You need to be specific. There are many different bikes. Since you haven't asked me for a particular bike, I'm not going to give it to you until you get specific." Well, Dr. Cho, with this revelation, he got excited and started preaching this to his congregation, that we have to be specific. But then he also learned from the Lord's Prayer that, what does the Lord's Prayer say? Would you say it with me? Give us, come on, say it with me. Give us this day our daily bread. Now, does that sound redundant? He did not say, give us our daily bread. That's not what the Lord's Prayer says. It doesn't say, give us our daily bread. It says, give us today our daily bread. And that's when it hit Cho, that when we pray and ask for things, we have to believe we have it. Not that we're going to have it. We have to believe the bread is given today. So he began to preach this to his small congregation about how we need to envision the answers being given. And we need to believe we have it. So he got bold. See, he now knew how to pray. So he just got his church place, and he had a church office, but they just had a couple of folding chairs, and he knew a pastor should have a desk. But he's not going to ask for any desk. He asked God for a mahogany desk. And he told God, I want it to have this on it, and I want it to be made like this. And he explained specifically. So with that excitement, he told his congregation, I have asked God for a mahogany desk, and I want you to know I got it. I receive it. Now, he's receiving it by faith. He hasn't physically seen it. But he's teaching his congregation that you have to believe you have it. So he told his congregation, I have a beautiful mahogany desk. God has given to me. I have received it. Well, after he preached that message, a couple of elders came up to him and said, Dr. Cho, could you show us the mahogany desk? He didn't expect anyone would want evidence. So he started to think, how do I explain this to them? So he had this idea. He said, listen to me, men, brothers. When you were conceived in your mother's womb, did you exist? They said, well, yes, we existed. But could anyone see you? They said, well, no. He goes, that's mahogany desk. And just then a couple of men broke out in laughter. Dr. Cho said, why are you laughing? He says, we have seen everything now. We have seen now a man pregnant with a mahogany desk. And friend, if you want to see the birth of your miracle, you have to conceive by faith that you have the answer now. Go to Mark 11. Mark 11:24. Let's see this in the clear teaching of Christ on prayer. So here in Mark 11:24. Mark 11:24. Jesus is speaking and he says this. Therefore I tell you, whatever. Can y'all say whatever? Not like the teenagers, whatever. No, whatever. Watch this. Whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you have received it, and it will be yours. Jesus, now notice he did not say, believe you will receive it. Watch. He said, believe that you have received it. Believe you have it. Believe you got it. Believe it. In other words, believe you're pregnant. Believe you have it even though you can't see it. You have to believe it's yours. And when you believe it's yours, you will receive it.